Hi, I'm Dave Epstein. Welcome to this edition of Growing Wisdom, and today I'm going to talk to you about what happens when you've overwatered a plant. So in this edition of Growing Wisdom, the thing I want to stress is the fact that sometimes you overwater a plant, and in the case of this Aurelia that I have here, the problem is that the plant's just not going to dry out. The soil is so overwatered that I need to take the soil out, let it dry out, and then put it back. And in order to do that, you've got a few steps. I took the Aurelia out of the pot, and I'll show you what I did with the soil in just a second. Our Aurelia is definitely overwatered, so it's in the shade. We got the roots, there it is, so we'll keep those out for a little bit. It's a cool day, and taking it out of the pot, just kind of keeping it. If you notice here, I've got some water. I'm misting it just so that the leaves stay a little bit moist, but not getting the roots wet, and leaving the roots out there for a little bit here. Here's the pot it was in, and we're gonna just put it back in the same pot. The problem is that I moved it into a pot which was too big, so it got too wet, and I'll show you what I'm doing with the soil. What I did was take the soil out of the container, completely sunny in the driveway, spread it out, and basically letting it dry out. So coming out here every 30 minutes or so and just mixing it around. Nice breezy, sunny, dry day. And I'm going to use the same soil, but we've got to get the moisture out. After a couple of days in the sun, I feel like the soil's back to where it should be. It's not sticking together. It's got some moisture in it, but not a lot. And now I can repot. So in this edition of Growing Wisdom, the thing I want to stress is the fact that sometimes you overwater a plant, and in the case of this Aurelia that I have here, the problem is that the plant's just not going to dry out. The soil is so overwatered that I need to take the soil out, let it dry out, and then put it back. And in order to do that, you've got a few steps. So let me outline what I've done here. Number one, I recognize the fact that the plant is overwatered. We've taken the plant out of the pot, we've removed all the wet soil and bare rooted it. At that point, we've put the soil aside and we're letting it dry out in the sun. We're then taking any of the dead roots or the rotted roots, we've cut them off, we've removed them. We're then going to put the plant back in its pot with the new soil, and I've had to add a little bit of soil to that because from removing some of the wet soil and some of the bad roots, I just had to add a little bit in order to keep the pot and the plant happy in its new location. Then we're not watering it for a little while. We're going to let those new roots kind of establish themselves. It'll take a few weeks. We don't want the soil to dry out completely, but we also do not want to re-wet it too much. While that's happening, I'm continuing to sort of mist the leaves or keep them in a plastic bag with some high humidity in order that the plant doesn't die. Eventually, it's going to get some new roots and it'll be happy once again. All right, so I did that whole video. I'm editing it now, and I just want to say that the plant died. So it didn't work. It's worked for me before doing it this way with several plants, but this particular plant, it didn't work. As a matter of fact, that's where it was, and I already put a fern in there. So, it happens sometimes, and I wanted to let you guys know that, taking it out and drying the soil out and all that, but I think it was just too far gone. I think that as I looked at it, the roots had just rotted to such an extent that it just couldn't produce any new roots, and so one of the problems, and it does happen. I don't lose plants very much, but I did lose this one. For Growing Wisdom, I'm Dave Epstein.